Hello again, Stephen here from Abbey Spring. I'm the owner of Abbey Spring, and I wanted to show you up close how to change the filters in our water coolers and our filtration systems using quick connect fittings. All of our water coolers are designed from the bulkhead fitting where the feed water tube comes in, and through all the filters we use quick connect fittings. What this means for you, I'll tell you what it meant for me. It was like sliced bread in the world when they developed these fittings. We used to always use compression fittings or flare fittings, and you have to have tools and wrenches and washers and inserts and all kinds of parts and pieces. And when they developed these quick connect fittings, it was the greatest thing in our industry. I was a happy camper when they did this. All the filter changes, therefore, are done with your fingertips. You don't need tools or washers or metal nuts and compression fittings and all of that, or a flare fitting and all of that. You don't need any of it. All the filter changes are done very simply with just your fingertips. So when you go to change your filters once or twice a year is really all it takes. You don't have to have any tools. You don't have to keep any tools around. Just bring your fingertips along with you when you go to do it. We're going to do a close-up of this so you can actually see what it takes, and I'll show you the different parts of it. It's very simple once you sort of get the hang of it. One of the most important things to remember when you go to change the filters, you have to turn off the feed water, of course, because you don't want that running when you take it apart. But the other thing is, once you turn it off, you have to depressurize the tubing. In other words, you have to release the water pressure that's built up in the tubing. And on a water cooler, it's very simple. In the bottom of the water cooler is a shutoff valve. We showed you that in one of our other videos. You turn that feed water off, and then you just draw water out of the faucets. We always grab an empty coffee pot that's always in the lounge room, and we just fill it up. You draw out a couple quarts of water, maybe a quart of water, and all that does is it just releases the pressure off the tubing, and that makes it possible to open these up. If you don't release the pressure, it's almost impossible to get this to release, and once you do, it's as easy as pie. All right, so we're going to show you a little bit closer up shot of this, and I'll show you how easy it really is. So here's the close-up of the filter. Now this is the carbon filter you'll find in our systems. This little white tube here is actually a plug. They use these to keep dirt from getting inside the system. Rather than wrapping the whole filter in saran wrap, they use these plugs. I use this filter because it's easy to see the collet. This blue ring here is what's called the collet. And when you go to change the filters, of course you go through the process of turning the feed water off and depressurizing the water pressure in the tubing, and then all you do is take your take your fingertips and hold that collet down against the filter, or if it happens to be a fitting, I mean this is a fitting. Sometimes we put 90-degree fittings in the water coolers that actually will have a hard 90-degree fitting in there, and that's actually what we'll be taking in and out of the filter. And you hold it down with your fingertips, and I'm going to reach across here, and I'm going to grab this plug and take it out. Nice fresh air release there, and that's all it took. I just held those down and pulled it out. If you don't hold that down, you try and pull it, it won't let go of it. When I was a kid, we used to call it the Chinese finger torture toy. It was a little tube woven out of bamboo leaves or something, and you'd stick your fingers in, and the harder you pulled, the more it gripped you. That's exactly what this does. The harder you pull without releasing it and holding that collet down, the harder it's going to grip onto that tube. So then when you go to put it back in, I don't have a fitting with me, I should have, but the tube just goes in. This is it. You just push it in, make sure it bottoms out, right there, just a little extra push, and there it is. I can't pull it out. That's all you do. Again, hold the collet down, pull the tube out. It's that simple. Just to go back over the steps it takes to change the filters, we're going to go through them one at a time. First thing you do is you shut off your feed water, and that's done with the valve. It's right next to the filters in the bottom of the water cooler. You depressurize the system by drawing some water out of the faucets. Very simple, a couple quarts of water, opens up the ball valve, the pressure on the tubing is released, which makes it possible to actually use or actuate the quick connect fittings. And right now I've got it set up with the 90-degree fittings that we use on the water coolers. This enables you to make the turns, get the tubes and turn, rather than bringing them straight down, the tubes straight down into the top of the cooler. We make the turn for you with a hard 90-degree fitting. And when you go to change the filters, you actually remove this hard 90-degree fitting from the filter rather than removing the tubing here from this fitting. And the reason is, when tubing's been in the fitting for a while, the fitting grabs it, of course. It has O-rings in there, and it will cause a little depression in the tube where it grabs onto it. And once you take that out, to prevent leaks, sort of getting that in sort of sideways in that little indent, if you don't trim it back about 1/8 to 1/4 inch, there's a possibility that you'll have a slight leak there. So, and eventually, over time, you keep trimming this tube back, you won't have enough tube to make all your connections. So we designed it that you remove this hard fitting from the filter, leave the tubing connected, you replace the filters one at a time. The filters are directional. This water flow right here has a word flow and an arrow. So this is going to be your inlet side. The water's going to flow this direction. So when you go to change it, you just hold that collet down, pull this whole fitting out with the tubing still connected, do them one at a time, get them going in the right direction, and when you make the reconnect, you just throw the old filter out, put the new one in. There's big clamps that holds it right there, and you just push this right down in, and you're ready to go. It's very simple. And this particular carbon filter, you'll want to flush it a little bit. That's explained in our directions for changing it, just to get the carbon fines out of it. It has a little just dark charcoal powder in it, and you get that flushed out before you send it up to your cold water tank, and make all your connections, and then use that same ball valve. You turn the water on with that ball valve, it'll fill the tanks up, you'll be ready to go. You can get this all done in maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Very simple operation. So you might have questions. Certainly give me a call. I'm happy to talk to you on the phone. Call me on my 800 number. That's 800-844-0448. And these videos and other explanations and other articles are all on our website, and that's www.abbeyspring.com. Look us up, give us a call. We're happy to talk to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.